What is it like running an all-terrain tire on a Hyundai? Well, I think before we can actually get into that, we have to talk about my current and prior wheel and tire setup.
The OEM wheels for most Hyundai Santa Cruzes is an 18-inch machined aluminum rim, and these are wrapped in a P245/60 all-season Kumho tire. And although it's not the greatest in the traction department, it is extremely quiet and boosts your MPGs. These tires are made of a softer compound, meaning that they won't last as long as some of the other options in the all-season department. I've logged about 20,000 miles with them, and I would rate them 3.5 out of 5 stars in its class. And this partnered with the all-wheel drive system, they aren't too bad in my opinion. Right here is my current wheel setup. These are 17-inch one-piece cast aluminum NK wheels, the RPF ones to be exact, and they are wrapped in a 255/70 Kenda all-terrain tire. Technically a 31-inch tire for your off-roaders. Unfortunately, there was a little trial and error when it went into fitting these big beefy wheels. The rims I have are 17x8 and plus 45 degrees of offset. The first issue required hub-centric adapters just to let the wheels fit, and up front, there were no clearance issues, at least with the rim. But in back, the barrel of the rim actually hits the banjo bolt from the caliper. I do believe if you were to get a plus 35 degree offset, it would clear without any need for wheel spacers. But in my case, I had to put on these 20mm Boro wheel spacers, and that will just leave enough room for you to slip some cardboard between the two. Now once we mount the Kenda Clever AT2, we run into the second problem. Right at turn full lock, we see that clearance up front is really tight, and you will notice that the smallest amount of scuff is on the splash shield right here. I don't notice any scraping on bumps, but when fully turned one way, I can feel and hear it rubbing on the plastic splash shield, though it doesn't seem to affect the hardware for the Rally Armor mud flaps.
Now that we've had a chance to look at each of the different setups, let's talk about one of the biggest changes so far, and what these tires have actually done to our miles per gallon. And with that, I'm going to pass you off to a special friend of mine. Hey guys, it's Jake from the past, or as Jake with the all-season tires still. And so you can see from there, at least for the last 6,000 miles, it's been getting about 28 miles per gallon overall, which is pretty good, especially since the standard for the vehicle is supposed to be only 25. Neat. So I've logged about 5,000 miles on the Kenda all-terrain tires. And as you can see right here, it has had quite the impact on my miles per gallon.
As you would expect, the two wheels are extremely different. I was able to find out on the Santa Cruz forum that the OEM wheel and tire weighed in about 30 pounds for the tire and 30 pounds for the rim, so 60 pounds at each corner. But for the Kenda setup, the tires come in at 37 pounds and the NK RPF ones come in at 16, for a grand total of 53 pounds. So the all-terrain loadout is a little bit lighter, which I'm sure the little 4-cylinder engine really appreciates. The problem comes when you start to think about tread pattern. The low rolling resistance of the Kumho tires just allows the vehicle to glide down the road, whereas the Kenda tires push and grab. And I suppose that even though the Kendas weigh a little bit less, the vehicle still has to turn a bigger tire, which also results in that 5 mile per gallon loss.
I think if you're truly looking into getting some all-terrain tires, you're not really going to be worried about your miles per gallon. And since we're an avid overlander anyways, we're going to be carrying a lot of extra weight. But when it comes down to it, we're still pretty far above what a fully loaded Tacoma or a fully loaded Jeep would be able to get in their miles per gallon department.
Undoubtedly there is a big difference when it comes to the comfort and road noise with each respective tire. So let's take a look at what kind of noise each is making.
And here is just a quick reference of what all-season factory tires sound like on your car. That's about 55 miles per hour, and you can kind of get a good feeling of what the road noise is with these all-terrain tires. And quite honestly, Hyundai does a really good job with their soundproofing inside the cabin.
Also of note, if you saw the last Santa Cruz build video, we installed a Firehawk light bar, and that added a subtle amount of wind noise as well. but for the sound test, I made sure to remove it to fully capture just the road noise. There's no debating that the all-terrain tires give your vehicle an amazing or more aggressive look, but there is a big trade-off that comes with it in the comfort category. I definitely felt a big change when switching to these Kendas. The ride quality is a bit more bouncy and a bit more reboundy, if that's even considered a word, and also a bit more firm when driving on gravel. But I consider these all minor inconveniences, and once you put a few hundred miles on them, you'll be so used to the ride quality that it won't bother you at all. And the first time you go off-road, you're definitely going to feel more confident, and the vehicle as a whole will perform amazingly. So, I think the Kenda Clever girl. I think the Kenda Clever tires, the AT2s, are a pretty good tire. I really want to try them in a medley of different terrains to get a more authentic review on the tires themselves. But so far, I think they're pretty great. I have some sage wisdom from some old off-road gurus that say if your tires make too much noise, then your radio is not turned up loud enough. I think that's pretty great, honestly. But maybe you guys can decide if all-season, all-terrain are more for you. The all-wheel drive system for the Hyundai is interesting to say the least. So maybe you guys can really decide from this video if all-season is better than all-terrain. But for me, all-terrain all the way. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it interesting. But that's all I got for you guys, so I'll catch you in the next one.